This is called Real American Monsters. In this series, we talk about dangerous people as seen through the eyes of their local news. Trigger warning for everything that fucked you up as a child.
Developing this morning, people living near a small lake in Gwinnett County found a body in the water.
A third body was recovered on the property.
Body parts found at 3 different locations on Long Island.
Police say at least 3 bodies have been found at the home of a man charged with kidnapping and torturing a woman in Massachusetts.
This attack taking place at Noblesville West Middle School.
Another discovery on the Ohio River, a third body a day after 2 were found.
And there are a whole lot of us that look at these things and go, what on earth is happening? What has happened that this kind of horrific evil?
There was a revolver clearly visible. People who live here have been living in fear since the murder spree came to light.
A modern-day serial killer here in Cincinnati is getting a second chance at life.
We do believe there are more, and I have no idea how many more there are going to be.
In the middle of February in southwest Michigan, it gets plenty cold. But on February 20th, 2016, at around mid-afternoon when Jason Dalton started his Uber shift, it was unusually warm. 56 degrees Fahrenheit's more like spring weather than the middle of February, and it was sunny that day. Jason was 45 and drove for Uber.
Compared the Uber app to the devil.
He and his friend went shopping the day of the shooting, going to 3 different gun stores looking for a jacket that could be used to conceal a gun. In the end, Jason's friend helped him to kill 8 people and injured 2 in 3 separate shooting incidents that kept the city of Kalamazoo, an aging industrial town in the Midwest, on edge for hours. All right, so what have we established? We've established that it's a nice day, and we've established that we've got a killer who's going to go kill people. Let's look at who Jason Dalton was.
Almost 5 out of 5 stars, with more than 100 trips logged last month. Uber says the 45-year-old passed both county and federal background checks. Dalton's record was clean.
As far as we can tell, these are all random shootings. There is absolutely nothing to link these things.
Uber says there's absolutely nothing it could have.
We don't know what this guy could have done. We have no idea what he's capable of. All right. Bookmarks. CNN. Kalamazoo rampage suspect. No mental health history. Okay. Next up. Driver blamed. No motive yet. You have no idea what this guy's going on. No idea what he's been doing. Well, let's see. What does neighbors say? They say he liked guns. All right. Well, I mean, neighbors are shocked. They are shocked. Let me tell you, there's somebody who's out there who's not shocked, my guys, who's doing it. They're like, did you know Jason Dalton? Yeah, I knew him. He seemed like a decent enough guy. He wouldn't just pop off and start killing anybody. The reports also include statements from a former coworker. And there seemed to be a side to Dalton that many people may not have seen unless they worked with him. The witness said that while at work, he'd seen Dalton yell at a customer over the phone, eventually slamming the phone down and hanging up on the customer. He was very upset and stood up and paced around his desk after the conversation. The former coworker said he would not have been surprised if Dalton had killed people at the insurance agency where they used to work, but he doesn't understand why he may have just picked random people. I don't know. Could it be Jason Dalton was an asshole? Jason turned on his Uber app and went to a student neighborhood to pick up Matt Mellon, and the ride started at 4:21. He hit other cars and drove over lawns on his way to Mellon's destination, but Mellon exited the Uber at a stop sign and called the police.
Kind of driving through medians, driving through the lawn, speeding along, and then finally, once he came to a stop, I jumped out of the car and ran away.
All right, let me talk about Matt Mellon for a minute, because this guy was on Mr. Dalton's wild ride here for about 5 minutes. He gets in the Uber. Dalton gets a phone call. So after this phone call, Dalton hammered the gas pedal and started driving crazy. This is great. I don't know if anybody's out there who is doing research on this, managing the response to a mobile mass shooting. And this report was prepared by Kalamazoo Public Safety. And it sort of showcases what the police response was and the ambulance driver's response, because all these people called 911, right? But depending upon where they were in the city, they were connected to a different 911. They rolled different services from different places. And you never see this interview. You see little clips. And in fact, the one that I used in the video was from Inside Edition. You never see this complete video. I'm going to play the distilled version of this video that you would have seen if you were watching Channel 3 News.
He introduced himself as a different name than what Jason was on that comes up for Uber. We got maybe a mile from my house. He got a telephone call, and after that telephone call, he started driving really erratically. We were running stop signs. We were kind of driving through medians, driving through the lawn, speeding along, and then finally, once he came to a stop, I jumped out of the car and ran away, and he wouldn't stop. He just kind of kept looking at me like, well, don't you want to get a ride to your friend's house? And I was like, well, yeah, but I want to get there alive, you know? I'm upset because I tried contacting Uber afterwards, after I talked to the police, saying that we needed to get this guy off the road. Pretty scary ordeal, especially to be so closely involved with it, but I'm just happy I'm safe. And
Uber won't say how it handled complaints about the Kalamazoo shooting suspect, so Uber officials acknowledged getting complaints from customers who reported Jason Dalton's erratic behavior, but their chief security officer has declined comment. Uber just said there's really nothing we can do about it.
Called his wife to ask where the keys were, and they arranged to meet at Jason's parents' house in Richland. He decided to take an Uber fare on the way. Just two problems. The girl who ordered the Uber wasn't the customer, it was her boyfriend, and the address for the townhomes on Meadows would have taken Jason to the leasing office instead of the pickup location. So the girl called and texted the correct location, but when Jason arrived, he still had trouble. He encountered Tiana Carruthers and asked her if she were his customer. She said no, and he drove away. Then he went back and shot her. Carruthers was Jason's first victim at 5:42 p.m.
Tiana Carruthers. I'm on Team Tiana, guys, 100%. I'm right behind this woman because she'll catch bullets for you. Who is not behind Tiana Carruthers right now? And in fact, there were a couple of kids behind her, and she got shot instead of them. This is going back to Jason Dalton's inability to manage conflict down in his core. He's the biggest dick on planet Earth. If you pissed him off, he was gonna show you how big of a dick he was. Still, he thought he was there to pick up Macy Eldridge, is what he thought he was there for. He saw Tiana Carruthers and he says, "Are you Macy Eldridge?" She says no. To her, must have seemed like some completely random psychopath. A neighbor saw her, called 911. He drove away, got into a couple of wrecks, and then switched cars at his wife's house. And this guy's wife, holy crap. Your husband comes home, the car's all scuffed up. He's like, I'm going to be on the news later, but I can't talk about it right now. Let me hide my scuffed up car in the garage while I drive home to switch guns. Bye, honey. The hell was going on in this woman's life that she didn't figure something was going on and call the cops?
What do you think about Tiana's actions that day?
Oh, she was very brave and smart to recognize and realize a bad situation arising. I got a text from my daughter on the phone.
Half a dozen kids. Look at this.
Moore was
Team
out of town.
Tiana
was watching her girls.
I'm on
she couldn't
Team
understand
Tiana
who
right
would
now.
target her friend.
I couldn't get here fast enough to really see what was going on and hoping everything was okay.
Moore's girls avoided getting shot, but they're dealing with the emotional wounds and are now in counseling.
Be blessed, feel blessed for every day that you have here.
I'm just proud of everyone, and I never expected this much love, but the love is true and the love is real and it's there, and I just want to say thank you.
It's right here, Tiana. It's right here. We got it right here for you.
Fleeing the scene, Jason sideswiped another car at G Avenue and Gull Road on his way to his parents' house, and at 6:05 he called his passenger and told her he couldn't complete the pickup. The Hummer didn't start, so he took his wife's car and hid his own in the garage of his parents' house. He drove around for a while, visited an ATM, and went home to switch guns at 7:19. Then he took a couple of Uber passengers around town to the train station in the entertainment district. At 10:01, Jason spotted Richard and Tyler Smith along with Tyler's girlfriend Alexis looking at cars at 10:01 p.m. She hid while Jason murdered the two men. That was the second kill.
The Smiths, I don't know what happened to them. There's not a whole lot of info. They don't seem to have talked a lot to any reporters. There just really isn't a lot you can find on that. I can't tell you why I don't have a whole lot of video of these two. There were 3 people involved in the Smith family. The girlfriend, the dad, and the son. It was the son's girlfriend, not the dad's girlfriend. According to, this is not a person who is hungry for fame. She doesn't want to be talked about. Dad, he was a gearhead, construction manager, blue collar guy. So yeah, this goes back to the Tiana Carruthers testimony that's cut short because Dalton can't control himself, and Dalton's never been able to control himself, and that's always been his problem. And they called him a coward. Other than that, they really have been kind of out of the media, so we're not going to talk about them so much because they don't want to be talked about, apparently.
Then Jason went to the Cracker Barrel parking lot and began murdering people. And at 10:17 p.m., he approached an elderly woman sitting in the driver's seat of a white van, asked her a question, and shot her. He then walked around the van and systematically shot 4 passengers in an adjacent car, firing approximately 17 rounds from his Walther P99 before fleeing the scene. For the rest of the night, Jason did his job, picking up passengers in the entertainment district and dropping them off, all the way denying he was the shooter.
After the Cracker Barrel thing, he just drove around dropping people off and picking them up. The entertainment district in Kalamazoo is pretty small. These poor guys, he'd come out.
Dutton,
Mark, Scott,
Dixon,
and Kevin.
Leonard say they called for an Uber last night. Only to have
poor guy.
Dalton pull up to the curb. The 3 said they had heard about the shooting spree and the suspect's car. So Dutton says he was a little unnerved when the same type of vehicle came to pick them up.
Quiet, really. My buddy Scott actually said something to him, said, "Hey, this isn't the HHR, you're not the guy, are you?" And he kind of just said no. It's crazy to think that someone could have gone out and just done all these horrible things and just came in with a straight face like he's just going to work doing his job and just...
Because he's a nut. He popped off, murdered people, and that's just kind of what we're waiting around to do when we're...
His last drop-off was a bar called Ruggers Up and Under, and at 12:40 he was picked up by a sheriff's deputy who saw his car leaving the bar.